Hey everybody, welcome to Whiskey, Lead, and Steel. Feelings Hurt While You Wait, the official podcast of Aggressive Defensive Solutions. Joining me today is Jeremy Phillips, and I'm Rick Sutton. And this is a short segment we call Tales from the Bench. For those of you who don't know, Arsenal Performance and Gunworks, who has not paid us to say this, but their new gun shop opened in Chesapeake, Virginia, that we are obviously affiliated with. And there's just some interesting stuff that comes through the shop from time to time. So we decided, at Lee's suggestion, that we do a brief segment called Tales from the Bench. So this is Tales from the Bench. And we're just going to, because it's us, and if you've seen us, you know that we typically take the piss out of everybody when we get the chance. So Jeremy, tell me about the most interesting firearm you saw here recently.
Recently, I would say a Turkish AR-12, which for those who don't know is a semi-automatic 12-gauge magazine-fed shotgun that is meant to look like a 3-year-old's drawing of a stoner AR-15, because that's all about there is in resemblance. Came through the door, front sight was on backwards, had been shot without a choke tube, so the choke wouldn't thread in, and then you couldn't figure out the mag catch, and we figured out it was a bullet button that somebody had super glued something on that fell out. So then I threaded some random screw that we had on the bench into it to get it working again, and you were not impressed by that, I would mention. So that was the most interesting one, and sadly enough, it's still there. At some point, we got to function check that thing, but yeah.
And so
I did turn the front sight back around.
Yeah, so it doesn't look
completely retarded.
Yeah, because I was looking, I was like, other than the fact that it looks outsized.
Like I said, like a 3-year-old. You showed a 3-year-old an AR-15 and said, "Here, go draw this with your red crayon."
It looked to me like if somebody had made an AR-15A2 out of balloons.
Yeah.
Everything was just too big. But you recognize the silhouette. Now, I'm interested in finding out, because it's a weird thing, but I am interested in finding out and take it out and play with it, how the action works on it. Because I'm thinking the upper receiver of it is configured to look like something that it's not. But I think it's probably a copy, one of those Turkish copies of either an HK or a Benelli or something. So, oddly enough, it could turn out to be something that is not a horrible piece of dog shit, but just a weird thing that you have a tough time finding parts for.
Yeah.
But that's, and then we're going to paint it probably. We're going to paint it. We're going to make a Jeremy 3 gun out of it to go along with your non-Glock.
My not a Glock. Shout out to Adrian.
That's right. There you go. So, I, on the other hand, am going on a rant about something that a really good friend of mine brought in, and I immediately wanted to headbutt him. And I was like, "Why did you bring this in here? Why don't you get a good gun?" And I already told him.
But it was a name brand gun that you own a few of.
Yeah, it was. So it is a Smith & Wesson Sigma, and if there is a way to make the Sigma worse, it's by making it a 380. So it's a Sigma 380. You did a bunch of research on it, and what did Smith & Wesson say about that gun?
The service life of this gun is 2,500 rounds, after which major components need to be replaced.
Which means everything but the serial number. So it has like a 2.5-inch barrel. It's made out of polymer and then zinc.
Yeah,
so the slide is zinc. So it's horribly fucking light. So it's bound to be painful to fucking shoot. So I took it apart, and of course, for those of you who don't know, the Sigma was Smith & Wesson's first variant to get into the striker-fired gun. Yeah. And it was such a copy of Glock that Glock sued the dog shit out of them. And then, but the upside to that is, then they had to go back to the drawing board and they came up with the MMP, which is a pretty good system. But in the meantime, so I pull this thing apart, and I shit you not, it breaks down into like 12 parts, and that includes the push pins. And I want to say easily 5 of them are actually legitimate Glock parts.
Yeah, well, they will direct interchange.
Yeah, crazy shit ever. But anyway, so I take this thing apart, which is a nightmare, and I pull it all apart, and it doesn't have sights. It has a channel carved down the top of the slide, and the slide looks like it's made out of a block of wood. It's even blockier and funkier looking than a Glock. It's like if Lorson made a Glock. And so it has a channel with a ramp at the end of the channel, and that's the sight. And then the cocking serrations are literally wasp wasted in. It's the weirdest shit ever. So anyway, so I pulled this thing apart.
It doesn't even have a mag catch. It just has 2 tabs on the magazine that click into the grip.
It doesn't lock back. None of that crazy shit, right? So take it apart, clean it up, because John was like, "Hey, can you clean this up for me?" And I'm like, "You can't really clean it. How do you clean a turd? You hit it with a power washer and it disintegrates." So I polished the ramp up. I polished the internals up. This, no doubt, I will put money on this. This is the smoothest firing S&W 380 ever. Because I did a AP&G action job on. Because, why not? It's for a friend. And then I Cerakoted it. So I spent more money on Cerakoting it than probably the gun's worth.
And the MSRP back in 1994 when this thing came out was a whopping $229.
Yeah. So how much did you find one for sale?
Yeah. I found one. The opening bid was $44.99 with a buy it now with 2 magazines and a holster for the gun for $79.99 American dollars.
Yeah. But I put this whole thing back together, and then because the way it goes back together, it was a nightmare. And realistically, how much time do you think I spent trying to put that thing back together?
Probably the better part of 2 hours around taking breaks and not throwing things across the room and working on other things to make progress on our work for the week.
The thing was a nightmare to work on. But I finally got it back together, and I squared it all away, and I gave it to John, and John was just as happy as he could be. So at the end of the day, it was all worth it, and I was like, "Hey, here's your gun." He's like, "Oh my God." I said, "Yeah, this thing's a piece of crap. Don't ever bring it back to the shop. Come into the shop, and we'll put you in a 365 if you need to carry a small gun." But live and learn, and every now and again, something really, really cool comes in, or something not cool comes in. But in either case, it's kind of remarkable, and it gets you out of your comfort zone. So there's always that.
Yeah.
Any rocks, bottles, bombs, hammer grenades?
Well, we'll do this again in a couple of weeks as more interesting shit comes through the door.
I find some more 1911s for you to work.
Yeah, 1911s, and for when we're hacksawing down, Winchester antique shotguns for home defense guns.
That's another story. All right, have a great one. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe button. We'll catch you later. Be safe.